had a request from the fundraising team in our office, and they wanted to do a one-off kind of like engagement project where you could donate on a one-off basis, basically. And it was part of the celebration of the office's anniversary of 30 years. So within that concept, we used a pre-existing engagement project we had built for the Environment Day. That was early June last year. And after the Environment Day, I think on the day a year ago, we launched the quiz using Gravity Forms. Back then, it was just a plugin; it wasn't built in WordPress. So the whole concept was that for Environment Day, you had a coach, a koala. We used a koala bear as a coach, who would coach people in certain different areas. For example, not to use plastic straws and plastic bottles, to compost, do composting, to general, good to do things for the environment. So we sort of took Koala and made him a teacher, or like an evaluator of people's behavior. So the whole quiz was built on the concept that you would answer a few questions, and Koala Coach would evaluate your answers, and they would give you a kind of score. So we had 7 questions overall, and 3 different outcomes. So I think if you scored 1 out of 7, you had to do a better job, and basically Koala would tell you to do a better job. There was a whole story there. And then if you had 5, no, I think 4 or 5, you had a mediocre outcome. So you were better than the first outcome, but you still needed to do a better job. And then if you scored 6 or 7 out of 7, you were a rainbow warrior. That was the best outcome you could hope for. And you basically had to continue the good job that you were doing. The whole purpose of all the outcomes was to engage the quiz takers, and in the end there was an EN form that was connected to the Gravity form, and you could do a one-off donation, and I think the 2 amounts we chose were 1 and 2 euros, just because it was just a symbolic, and we wanted to test it and see how it is. We had never done anything like this, and in this at this point I should give credit to Quentin, who walked us through his Gravity form and shared his knowledge and told us how to do it. I think his was a petition as well. Ours was a quiz and fundraising element, but it was like we took everything he shared with us and basically transformed it into our version. So our form is not currently public, but I do have some screenshots that I can share with you. So the whole process was, we built a P4 page where you could navigate to from the landing page of the website, and you could start the quiz. So back then, the way the form worked, you had to connect it to a page in order for you to access the form. So essentially, we built a P4 page for that, and then the whole 8 pages of the quiz, they were part of the form. So you would build those inside the Gravity forms the way Susie demonstrated in the beginning. It was a little bit more on the amateur side back then. Now it looks more sleek, I have to say. So yeah, just to give you an idea, I can share my screen. Is that okay, Susie? Okay. Give me 1 second. You can now see my screen, right? Okay.
Yep.
So this screenshot, once it loads, I should say that you have the link to this folder in the presentation that Susie made, so you can view it yourself. So this was the P4 page, which was a normal page on P4 on our site, and We had it featured on the landing page as well, and we used it as a link to all of the social media posts that we did. And underneath this graphic, there was a button, just a generic button, a CTA button, where you could just click and enter the quiz. So the first page of the quiz looked something like this. Yeah, I think this was the first question. So you had a graphic again, which was relevant to the question. This question says, what percentage of the world's bottom, the bottom of the ocean has been explored? And then you had three answers. All of the questions were just a simple form question with three answers. And then we found out that that was the easiest way to calculate the outcome. So it worked for us. That's why we went for this kind of format. And then you would click next, and there was a bar, I think, just underneath the graphic, which calculate the process, so the progress, sorry, throughout the quiz. And then at the end of the final question, there was a submit button. And I'm sorry, I don't have access to that final slide because the form, now that it's not public anymore, it wouldn't let me do the quiz. So I couldn't take a screenshot of that one. But basically it was this same button, just said submit, and you would go to the EN page based on your outcome. So all of that was done on Gravity Forum, and you would input the mathematical number. For example, if you would say, if the answer was like equal to one value, you would go to this EN page, basically. That was the whole concept. If it was equal to 5 or 6, you would go to this EN page, and then if it was 7, you would go to that page. So we had also built 3 different EN pages associated with the outcomes, and they had different graphics on those pages. So like I said, if you scored 1, you were like doing a really bad job, so Koala was disappointed. And then if Koala was okay but not like too excited about your job, so you had a mediocre outcome, Koala was like trying to give you more motivation, basically. And if Koala was super happy with the job you did, Koala was really happy. So the graphics helped us with that. And we relied on graphics, like I said, because it was very basic as a concept, and we had to rely on those just to lighten it up a little bit. We had 0 CSS skills to do that. So we had to be a little bit more resourceful, and our graphic designer came up with the concept, and we're happy to use that. So that was basically the form. It ran for about 40 days. It ran from the end of June until first week of August. It had, according to the stats that I found on P4, it had about 120, if I'm not mistaken, I've written down here, 106 views. So I'm guessing that it counts the times that someone entered the form. It wasn't really specific in the P4 statistics. And it says it had an amazing conversion rate, but our data on EN doesn't show that. So our donations were very low. So our expectation going in, I should admit that it wasn't great. Like we knew it wasn't like the most engaging look that we could go for, because I mean, they're out there, like there are super engaging quizzes and games and all of that, but it was our first attempt to gamify something. So for us, it was a very proud project. So the donations were around 300 euros. I'm not sure. Kelly, feel free to correct me if you're still here. But yeah, it was
I think
about
she said she had to hop to another call.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it was about 300 euros. It wasn't great, but at least we had people who engaged with it. And we had also built an email journey sort of associated with some key dates throughout the summer. So there was a question about climate and when the floods happened in Europe. Like we sort of used a few opportunities, and we had also built a few social media posts, like all of the 7 questions, they had their own social media output. So we would, on a weekly basis, we would promote the quiz page on P4, just to kind of like drive the traffic from social to the quiz and not just rely on the quiz being on the landing page. And yeah, that was our entire experience.